Hello, and welcome to Palindrome ASMR, the show where I talk randomly into a microphone, because apparently it relaxes people. Now, for today, I have a little something different from what I did yesterday, but at the same time, something in the same vein. I'm going to be drinking tea instead of hot chocolate. In case you were wondering, last time I drank hot chocolate in this piping hot mug of hot cocoa. But it's not hot cocoa now, it's hot water now. And this time I will be drinking tea. This is going to become a regular thing on this channel because I enjoy drinking hot drinks. This time I'm going to focus a little bit more on the soundscape with a comb and a tube of, what is this? Face scrub. But those are going to be for when I am drinking my tea. So I have my hot cup and I have my tea. This is the very first item that I used on my show. A bag of Twinings English breakfast tea. No, this video is not sponsored. I wish it was sponsored, because that would mean that I have a show worth sponsoring for, but a guy can dream. That smell of English breakfast tea. Now, I used to like Earl Grey. Earl Grey was one of my favorite teas. But for some reason, I started to hate it. I started to loathe drinking Earl Grey. Now, I know I promised to show you my collection of fine teas in a bamboo box, but that's going to have to wait until tomorrow because I couldn't get a hold of the box. I didn't have time to go up and grab it tonight. So tonight, I'm just going to drink regular Twinings English breakfast tea. Twinings is a mid-range tea brand. While there are cheap teas like Lipton, and there are expensive teas like the brands that I don't know, and then there's Twinings, which is somewhere in the middle, which makes it perfect for consumption by me, a guy from a middle-class family who's a little bit price conscious, to be honest. Let's read this. Twinings English breakfast, brew 4 minutes. Over 300 years of experience. Established 1706. Now, I hate these because I always end up tearing them to shreds while I play with them while I drink. I end up folding them in on themselves and playing with them and manipulating them. These little tag things right here. I end up destroying them and making a mess on my desk, which is why I kind of hate these. They're the enemy of all who like to fiddle with things while they work. Alright, can't let my hot water get cold. Now when I brew tea, I stick the tea bag in, wait 2 minutes, and drink it with the tea bag in. Now while we wait, let's do some more soundscaping. An empty tea bag, or an empty tea bag. It's a bag for a bag. You call that thing right there a tea bag. And you call this a bag for a tea bag. So it's a bag. It's a bag. It's a funny word to say. Bag. Bag. Now, here's where I start rambling. Before I entered the world of published medium, of creative ideology, I thought that the moment I finished my first book, there would be a fanfare and a trumpet, and angels would descend from heaven, take my book with them, and bring it up to Random House Publishing or one of the big 5 publishers and just go, oh, and bring my book up there, and then it would hit the bestseller lists, and I would be read by millions of fans worldwide. That was my impression. Honestly, I didn't truly think that. It was just, this was sort of how I viewed what would happen. But instead, what happened is I got 1 sale on my Amazon page, and that's it. I published it. I advertised it on Facebook. I told my friends about it. And then I got 1 more sale 30 days later. And about 2 years after the release of that book, I have probably sold 10 copies online. Maybe 25 copies in physical print, because to be honest, with physical print books, I get to be the salesman. I get to say, hey, come check out my books. Come check out my books. Come. And they come, and I hand it to them, and once they have it in their hands, they're more likely to buy it. But all in all, I'd say out of my 7 books and 2.5 years of writing, I have sold less than 70 copies total across all platforms that's selling them. I did get some free downloads when I made one of my books free. I got about 100 free downloads, but those don't really count. And it was an unedited version, which is especially painful because all of the reviews noted it. So I think my tea is brewed. English breakfast tea is the best kind of tea. Well, I'll let it sit for a little while longer. It could be stronger. And in the meantime, let's play with a comb. I love playing with combs. Combs are interesting. I always wondered why they have the thin end here and the thick end here. think my tea should be brewed now. Oh, that's better. It tastes like English breakfast tea, a very hearty, mealy taste. Like the morning sun on a summer day, or a sunrise. Have you ever properly watched a sunrise? Have you ever properly watched the sun go from the sky, go from black to light gray to orange to red to pink to yellow and then to blue? It's a beautiful sight. It's not as quick as some people would imagine. The whole process actually takes over an hour. And if you want to watch it from start to finish, you're going to have to be there at least 2 hours. In the cold of the morning, even in the summer, it's cold in the mornings. It's the coldest part of the day, just before sunset. I watched the sunset in a beautiful lake vista at a church camp about 4 years ago. It was this beautiful lake, and the sun was rising between the peak of 2 mountains, and on the outline you could see the trees and the distance, and the water reflected the sun. It was, by all means, a glorious experience. One that I will remember for the rest of my life. I was the only one out there, sitting on this bench that had dew collected on its wooden paneling. The only one out there. I enjoy being the only person in an area where usually there are many people. I enjoy that feeling. An empty school campus, an empty church, an empty field. I'm the only person there when I know that normally there will be many people there. I love that feeling. Now, incidentally, at this camp is, well, I'll talk about that one day. It was very interesting. Summer camp is where I went through some interesting troubles. Every summer camp I've ever been to, let's just say that being around people stressed me out, and stressing me out brought out some maladaptive, not personality traits. At this point, they're actually more like maladaptive medical difficulties, rather. Because, to be honest, I was going to have to put this out in the open at some point. I'm actually a diagnosed schizophrenic. So, I've seen the inside of an inpatient facility. I've seen the unimaginable, the moment when you believe that the world is inside out and nothing makes sense anymore, and you believe that voices are talking to you in your head. And why am I speaking about this in the second person? It's kind of difficult to talk about in the first person. I don't like talking about my fanciful delusions. I don't know if I would call them fanciful. I would probably call them maladaptive or symptomatic. I do take medication for my illness, and I want to say that my illness does not define me, even though it's difficult for it not to. It's difficult for it not to sort of define how I think about myself. I think to myself, if I didn't have medication, if I lived in the 1800s, what would have become of me? I know that if I had lived in the prehistoric times, in a bush culture where they still practiced shamanism, I would have become a shaman. And if I had lived in Israel, or nation of Israel, in the clan of the Levites, and I had been a priest, I would have become a prophet. But now, in today's world, when I hear voices and I see the truth and I get a message directly from the one above, people say, "You're crazy. Go into a hospital. We don't want to talk to you anymore. We don't want to associate with you." And the reason why I stopped going to band is because band was involved in some of my psychotic breaks. And once the band director knew that I was schizophrenic, he demoted me to second chair. Now, I don't think this was malicious. I don't think he meant it. And I didn't interpret it as a move to talk down on me because of my illness, but it still pained me, and I just got the feeling that everyone knew. Look, there was the first clarinetist, the amazing virtuoso who came and dominated during his freshman year. He's fallen from glory because he had a schizophrenic breakdown. Everyone knew it. I was very honest and open with it, and I'm kind of regretting that now, but everyone knew. Look, you're second clarinet now because you were schizophrenic, and the band director doesn't trust you anymore with the spot of first chair. And I don't know if this was the truth. It was probably just another delusion inside of my mind, but I can't get it out. I can't stop thinking that everyone knows the reason why I was demoted to second clarinet, or, fifth chair out of 10, is because, not because my skill decreased, but because of my illness. And there's a stigma around schizophrenia, and that was just a very visible sign that I was not normal. I was a bad egg. And I know it wasn't meant maliciously. I know no one was out to get me. This was just a saddening byproduct of an illness that's as much medically diagnosable, as much not out of my control, as much just, I had a friend in high school. He was a friend from church, and he was diagnosed with leukemia, and about a year and a half later he died. And my mental illness, I have to come to terms with the fact that my schizophrenia is the cancer of the mind. I've heard it quoted as that. That's not me. One of my psychology textbooks literally referred to schizophrenia as the cancer of the mind. So, I'm not going to die, but at the same time, my life isn't ever going to be the same. So, that's a confession from me, basically. Me explaining what happened to me. I mean, I hope you understand. I'm just talking about. I think you get the point, though. That's. And now for the face scrub. Now I was rummaging through my house, my parents' house, looking for items to feature, and these are the things that I found. I'm gonna have to do better with my item selection, I know, but the sounds are at least decent. I'm actually kind of afraid to release this video onto the internet because I don't know what kind of a reception it's going to get. I hope it will be positive. I think most people on the internet are nice people, are understanding people, and I know from experience that when other people on YouTube talk about touchy subjects, the response is usually positive, which is why I'm talking about this now. It's because I've noticed that honesty on YouTube is seen as a beneficial thing. When people are honest about their psychological and mental and physical problems, the response is usually largely good. I mean, there are always people who are going to go against that, are going to prove the generality wrong, but in general, honesty on YouTube is lauded as. And to be honest, that's another one of the reasons why I wanted to start this channel, is because I like watching YouTubers who are honest and who air their problems who share their troubles with other people. And the amount of support that these YouTubers get just makes my heart swell with love for the human race, because basically what I'm saying is I need affirmation. I need people to tell me that I'm okay, that I'm going to be fine. I need people to say to me, look, we understand that you are a broken person, but at the same time, we still like what you do. We enjoy your content. We sympathize with you, and that's the reaction I'm hoping to get. And I'm afraid, because that might not be the reaction that I get. Who knows what reaction I'll get? Most likely I'll get no reaction. Just the couple of people who watch this far. Very few people will watch this far. Most likely this is just going to fade away into the archives of YouTube, the biggest information sharing platform ever in the history of history. Just another voice in the crowds. Another person screaming at the top of their lungs saying, notice me, when there are billions of other people doing the same. But hey, that's just how life is. Now, I know I promoted this book yesterday. Mac. It's my newest book. Mac. It's about a McDonald's restaurant that turns into a Gundam robot and fights against murderous space orcs from the depths of Mordor, pulled into action by an AI Stalin who merged with Skynet before he died. And on their side are kaiju and Sith from Star Wars and pretty much every other big bad guy out there. And they fight to save the world, and some very interesting things happened. Like, they meet a dragon and trade him bazookas for a time-traveling relic so that they can travel through time and stop AI Stalin. So, they trade 100 bazookas for time-traveling dragon's blood. That's one of the many interesting things that happen. And the purple guy, Grimace, from the old McDonald's advertising campaigns, he's their EVA suit. So basically, the robot has a mini robot that they can use to do short EVAs, extravehicular activities. And he is in the shape of the purple Grimace from McDonald's advertising. I'm going to read a page from my book. Let's pick a good page. Chapter 5, Potential Fulfilled. The sound of my rifle was like the world tearing apart, the fabric of reality being ripped asunder. I was in no way prepared for how much kick my gun had. For a moment, I thought about the stupidity of having an untrained rookie like me in this role, before my magical training took effect, forcing me to observe, confirm, and search for my next target. Of course I missed, but that was beside the point. I was working for a dual purpose, learning how to shoot while at the same time providing support. This wasn't so bad. It wasn't like being on the front lines where I would get shot at directly. Here, the only thing I had to fear was another sniper, or a magician, or a stray laser bolt. I considered the fact that nowhere was safe on a battlefield before sighting my next target and firing. I hit it. On my second try, I hit my target in the right shoulder, spinning it around into the open where I could get a good look at it. The humanoid was like a classic orc, with a twisted face, massive teeth, and green skin. However, it was wearing some combat armor that vaguely reminded me of Mass Effect, while still retaining a Russian spacey look, reminiscent of the silver shininess of Sputnik. It was quite the ridiculous fashion, made serious by the seriousness of being shot at by real lasers. I wondered where their mages were. Were we fighting them right now? Was there a battle going on above our heads that I couldn't see? I sighted another target. This one was behind a row of vines, and I only caught him because of the red outline my team member ball cap heads-up display put around it. I lined up my scope, fired, and missed. The target dived to the ground, putting a rise of dirt between him and me. I sighted the target and fired, a bullet pinging into the brown earth. I wasn't going to hit him anytime soon, and so I searched for another target. My blood was rushing. I felt alive, exhilarated, powerful, like I was on the world's tallest roller coaster and was in the center of its deepest fall. Again and again I lined up, fired, confirmed. Each time, after I had spent my round, I pulled back my rifle's bolt action and loaded another bullet in. The empty shell was humongous, as thick as a baseball bat, or at least it seemed that way as it pinged through the branches back down to the ground. Mac by Zeppy Chang. So, thank you for watching. I appreciate you coming this far. That reading aloud was a little, I wouldn't call it a gift, I would call it a service for those who have watched this far and who have come this far in my video. I think it's about time to wrap up. Thank you for watching again. You're amazing. You don't have to like, comment, subscribe, whatever. You don't have to, but I would appreciate it if you did. And at the same time, I would love you for it if you did. Mad respect to those who watched this far. Thank you. I'll be back tomorrow with my specialty tea set, I promise this time. And goodbye. Thank you.